everybody. Let's take a look at the TEPAC. Hi, everybody. Let's take a look at the TEPAC model for writing a constructed response. Now, again, what we talked about before was that we want to really kind of change our mindset that we're not doing a TEPAC. We're doing a constructed response. We're doing an open-ended question. We're using the TEPAC model as a way to create that or to build that answer, right? For many of you, this is going to be a refresher, but let's take a look at this so we can kind of have a sense of how this works. We'll make sure we're all on the same page. So what we have here is this is the definitions of or the breakdown of the TEPAC model, okay? And this is generally included on all of your assignments, so you have this already, right? So there are 5 parts, and the goal is to use each of these 5 parts to state your position and then defend it, okay? And we defend it by providing proof and explaining how that proof works and why that really backs you up. That's kind of the goal here, okay? And so if we can go through these 5 steps, then we know that we've got an answer that really has a lot of content, has a lot of meat to it, has a lot of meaning to it, and in the end, will do the job that we need it to do. So for today's example, let's go ahead and use the one that I always use is where is the best cheese dip in Evansville? So we're going to start with the topic sentence, and we're going to start with the topic sentence by stating our position, right? The best cheese dip in Evansville is at Los Bravos. Okay, so we're going to start with that, right? We start with stating our position. We also, if you'll notice here, I've included part of the question in the answer, right? So where is the best cheese dip? The best cheese dip is, okay? And so I've included part of the question in the answer. Notice also I only have one answer, right? I only have one answer. I'm not giving my audience an option, okay? Because if I give options, if I give multiple answers, then I got to explain multiple answers, right? So I want one answer. Okay. Now, from here, then I'm going to provide evidence. Now, in this case, we're going to use evidence that we have. When we're doing this based on a text, you're going to go back to the text and pull quotes out to back up what you're trying to say, right? Their cheese dip is thick and creamy. Okay, so evidence, so my T, here's my answer, right? So I have this here, that's my answer, or my topic sentence, right? That has my answer and part of the question. This is my evidence. Here I'm providing a piece of evidence to show my audience here's a reason why, okay? But from here, we want to go in and paraphrase that. In other words, anybody can repeat a piece of evidence, but what we want to do is we want to take that and put that in our own words, okay? When you dip a chip, the cheese sticks to it, covering the whole chip. All right, so now I've paraphrased that. So in other words, it's just saying, oh, it's thick and creamy. Okay, what does that mean? What does it mean to be thick and creamy, right? Okay, so I put it in my own words. Instead of saying it's thick and creamy, I put it in my own words. Well, when I put the chip in, this cheese sticks to it, right? So it covers the whole chip. T, here's my answer. E, here's a piece of proof. P, I'm going to explain it in my own words. A lot of times when we're using a text-based answer, where I go back to the text and I pull a quote in, I want to put that in my own words, right? I'm paraphrasing my own words. So it's not like I just randomly guessed at a piece of information, but when I put it in my own words, now I know what it really means, right? I'm showing my audience, I know what this means. I can repeat it, I can retell it. At this point right here, this first, the T, there's not a lot of brain power involved, right? I mean, you just took a position. This evidence piece, you know, again, you're pulling one thing out, you're pulling a piece from the text, you're giving a reason, right? There's some thought, but I mean, again, we're not really doing anything really difficult yet. And even when I'm paraphrasing it, this part here where I put it into my own words, I still have the original, right? So I'm not creating anything new. This analysis, this A part, the next sentence, this is the part where you really have to start thinking some, because this is where you draw that line from here's my answer to here's my proof. And I want you to see how this proof backs up my answer, right? So the analysis part then is where you really have to start thinking some. So we want to be able to prove this, not just here's a piece of evidence, but we're going to show how that evidence backs us up, right? So for this one, I'm going to put, that means when you are eating this dip, you actually get the flavor of the dip, not just a wet chip. Okay. Now, my evidence then is that the cheese is thick and creamy. All right. What does that mean? Well, it sticks to the chip. All right. Now, if I show that's my evidence, then I want to explain why that is proof that it's the best cheese dip. Because when you eat that chip, you actually get the cheese and you actually get to taste the cheese, right? It's not just wet. It's not just like, oh, there's something on that chip, right? You actually get the cheese. It's not like you have to go get like a spoon or a straw or something to slurp it up like a drink, or that you have to get like a spoon because it's so thick, right? It's too thick. It eats like cereal or something. So I'm showing how this evidence backs up my claim. Then we're going to wrap it up. We're going to give our concluding sentence. And this conclusion is kind of your take on it, right? There are many cheese dips out there, many different qualities. This is why I really recommend Los. Okay. And this is where I just kind of wrap it up. I kind of give my last thoughts. Now, I know many of you might be like, oh my God, I got to write 5 sentences. There's so much work here. This is doing the most. Well, it is, I guess, in a way, doing the most, right? But what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that we cover all of our bases. We have an answer. We have proof. We have an explanation of why that works. And then we wrap it all up. So the TEPAC model shows us step by step what we need to do to answer it. Now, as you get better at doing this and, becomes quicker, becomes second nature, once you really get a good handle, then you can start to adapt it a little bit. Then you can kind of start making it into something a little bit more your own, right? And you can put your own style on it. So maybe this is where you start combining ideas. Or maybe this is where you take a layered approach where you have 2 or 3 answers and then you use multiple proofs to kind of back those up, right? Or maybe you have a couple different explanations. It's this and it's this. And so once you really get the hang of it, then you can personalize it, make it your own. But until you feel really comfortable and confident in this model, what you want to do is you want to take this step-by-step approach, one part, one sentence to complete an answer.